sit yourself onto your lift and come into a good cross leg position. This is quite frosty this morning, isn't it? So it's kind of nice to be inside, hopefully with a bit of heating on. So I'm right next to my radiator here. So hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just allow the eyes to settle on the floor ahead of you. Look at something that isn't moving. And then release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste. Push your palms firmly together, lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. Just allow your eyes to gently close with an exhalation and focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. With an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Just a gesture of wisdom, intelligence, and peacefulness that we can carry into our practice. That's intelligence from the perspective of observation, of bringing former learning into the present moment, bringing former actions into the present moment within our practice. Just raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Sorry, my camera seems to have switched itself off. Just sit with your hands on your knees, lift up into the chest, elevating your heart area upwards, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs across, just observing your body's response to the pose. Turning the abdomen and the ribs and the shoulders, keeping the neck soft, just looking forwards. And then come back to the center. Hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. Again, just observing your body's response to the pose. And then gently come back to the center. Just get your belt and just stretch your legs out in front. Just shuffle forward on your cushion a little so that the backs of your thighs are free of the lift. And then get the belt and then lasso the belt around your feet. Have your feet about hip width apart. So have your feet wide apart, or wider than feet together. And then push the ball joint of the feet firmly into the belt. And try and turn really consciously the shins inwards from the little toe side to the big toe side. So you feel that the backs of the calves slide across the floor and the heels come apart. Draw the kneecaps into the back of the knee. Lengthen from the back of the knee into the calf and into the heel. And then activate the thigh muscle. Lift the thigh muscle up towards the top of the leg. And then see if you can roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Lifting the heart area upwards. So hold in, not like with a death grip, but a firm hold of the belt. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones, activating the shins, pressing them into the floor, activating the kneecaps, activating the thighs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, turning the inner knees down to the floor, turning the fronts of the shin from the inside out, from the little toe side to the big toe side. Breathing even deep inhalations. Take both ends of the belt in your left hand and then turn. Dig the back hand into the floor or into the cushion that you're sitting on and turn. Keep both legs engaged. So as you turn, maybe you lose one of the legs. Or maybe you work one harder than the other. See if you can work them evenly as you turn. Again, lifting onto the front edge of the seat bones, lifting the chest and turning. Come back to the center. Hold onto the belt, lift up into the chest and then take the belt into the right hand and then turn to the left. Rolling onto the front edge of the seat bones, digging the back hand firmly into the floor or into the lift. Activate both legs evenly. Observe the thighs, observe the knees, observe the shins, observe the heels. And then come back to the center. Just bring the feet in, so stay on the lift, bring the feet in to in as close to the seat bones as you can. With the feet together, hold onto your knees and lift up into your chest. See if you can roll onto the fronts of the seat bones. So it's quite difficult in this pose, isn't it, to roll onto the front of the seat bones if you're holding your knees. Anyway, see if you can hold your shins and then roll onto the front of the seat bones. Lift up into the chest. Just breathe even. Deep inhalations and exhalations. If you can, get hold of the big toes. So I find that if I'm sitting on a lift, getting hold of the big toes makes me drop a little here, and it's quite difficult to really lift. And so if getting hold of the big toes when you're sitting on a lift doesn't work for you, then get a belt, slide it underneath your feet. So you just give yourself a little extra lift, or a little extra distance, and then pull against the feet, push the feet into the floor, roll onto the front edge of the seat bones, and elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing the shoulders down, just looking forwards, just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And then release, just come off the lift, and then sit back on your heels and come into Adho Mukha Virasana. So coming forwards, sitting on your heels, big toes together, your knees apart, keeping the seat bones down on the heels if you possibly can. Come forward, stretching out the back. Keep the seat bones in contact with the heels. If you lose contact between the seat bones and the heels, or if you've got a stiff back, then put a block underneath your head just to prevent you from going too far into the pose, just to help the back stretch out without overdoing it. So press the palms into the floor, straighten the arms. You can press your forehead into the ground, keeping your arms long and straight, keeping the elbows moving in towards each other, lengthening from the palms into the elbows, into the armpits, into the hips. So using whatever you need to maintain that connection between the seat bones and the heels, or to protect your back. Come up onto your knees, have your hands as wide apart as the mat, have your feet as wide apart as the mat, and then come up into dog down. Listen to the breath, activate the thighs and the kneecaps and the shins, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Listening to the breath. Just focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Activating both legs evenly. Working evenly between the hands and the feet. So my mat is a little slippery at the moment, so I'm holding onto the edges of the mat just to give me stability in the arms. So you can do that if you need to. It's not ideal, but it works. So lift up into the legs, lift from the toes into the shins, into the kneecaps, into the thighs. If I'm holding you too long upside down, just rest. Otherwise, just stay and maintain if you can. Okay. Okay, and then step your feet forwards. Just come up into the standing position, and then get your blocks for your hands. Have your feet as wide apart as your mat. Really consciously lining up the edge of your feet with the edge of the mat. Have your hands on your hips, lift up into your chest. Activate your legs like you were doing in dandasana at the beginning. Turning the shins inwards. Activating the kneecaps, activating the thighs, turning the thighs inwards. And then hinge at the hips, keep the head lifted, keep the elbows winging up towards the ceiling, and then come down onto the fingertips. Be on fingertips rather than heels of hands. So heels of hands is a collapse in action, fingertips is a lift in action. Just observe where you are in 3 dimensions. In this pose, it's important to lengthen the spine away from the legs, lifting the head, pushing the chin away from the chest. So the eyes can't see the physical body. So then we rely on the feeling of the pose. So can you activate your legs so that you can feel where they are, you can see where they are through the feeling of the pose. Activate the extension of the spine. Feel that you can feel where the arms are, where the chest is, where the head is, where the neck is. Lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs. If you can go down lower, then do. If you've got a stiff back, just stay on the higher lift, or just see how your back responds if it feels safe to do so. So all the time, keeping the chin and the chest extending away from the legs, hitting the legs back. Feel where your weight is in your legs. Is it in the front of the foot? Can you hit your shins back so that the weight drives into the heels of the feet? If you can go down lower, then do. If you can reach down to the floor without aggravating your back, without losing the extension of the legs or the spine, reach down to the floor. If you can reach around the backs of your heels and draw your chest in between the 2 legs without losing the extension of the spine or the legs, then do. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then hit the legs back, bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then come up into Tadasana. Just observe how your body feels. Listen to the breath, listen to the breath action. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart nice and wide with your legs. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out, and then bring the hips to face the front. Turn the thighs in the opposite direction to Tadasana. Rather than the outside in, do the inside out. So it's from the big toe side to the little toe side. Lift up into the chest, stretch your arms out, and then come down into trikonasana. Just feel where you are in 3 dimensions. Again, see the body that the eyes can't see through the feeling of the pose. So can you feel where your feet are? Can you feel where your legs are in 3 dimensions? Can you feel where the hips are? That front leg hip, is it pushing towards the wall behind you like this? Or can you squeeze that front leg buttock bone in? Can you activate that back leg to hit towards the wall behind you? Can you turn the chest to face upwards? Breathe in and out through the nose. Come back to the center, swap your feet around, turn your right toes in and the left leg and foot all the way out, and then come down onto the left side, turn in the chest, just feeling where the body is in 3 dimensions, feeling your alignment rather than intellectually knowing it. Use the intelligence of your form of practice to inform the present moment, to observe where the body is in 3 dimensions. If there are areas of dullness, aim to activate them. Come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump with the feet back together. Just come back into Tadasana, just feeling your way into just this pose of Tadasana. Lifting up into the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath as it enters and as it exits. Fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Raise your arms up, bring your feet hip width apart. I'm just going to go sideways so I've got more space for my arms. And then bring the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows and then come forwards. If you've got a bad back, just come halfway, just resting your hands on the back of a chair or on the wall. Otherwise, just stretching down to the floor. So, for my bad back, I find this actually pretty good. I find it quite a good release. I've got that stretch in the part of my back that becomes really stiff. So for me, this uttanasana pose is actually quite a good stretch to release the tension of my back. But that's my back. You've got to know it for yourself. So if it doesn't feel right to come all the way down, and just use supports for your elbows, back of a chair or a tabletop. Just breathe in through the nose, out through the nose, activating your legs like you are doing Dandasana. Like you're doing dog down. And then release your hands down to the floor and then bring your hands into your hips and then, if need be, bend your knees on the way up and then come up into Tadasana and then just coming back into our central standing pose, Tadasana. Reactivate your legs. Just observing the feeling of extension in the legs. And then just come down onto your back into supta baddha directly on the floor. So just come down, pulling your feet in towards the seat bones, and then just come down into supta baddha, just resting the back into the floor. Just hold your lower ribs so that you can feel the expansion and relaxation of the chest as you inhale and exhale. So focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Turn the tailbone in to soften the lumbar into the floor. Press the feet firmly together, turn the tailbone in, draw the belly button towards the spine. Stretch your arms to the ceiling, interlock your fingers, turn the palms up to face the ceiling, and then lengthen your arms along the floor. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, you can put a folded blanket or some blocks underneath your hands just to support your shoulders. If there's stiffness in your hips, then put some blocks underneath the outsides of the thighs. Otherwise, squeeze the elbows together. Push the palms away. Broaden the abdomen. Just listen to the breath. And then release your arms, bring your arms back up to the ceiling, swap the interlock of the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then again lengthen your arms along the floor. So you're doing the unnatural interlock of the fingers. Just observe how that changes the way that you extend your arms. So it's a very subtle action, but it's there nonetheless. And then release your arms, just rest your hands back onto your lower ribs, just observe the energy around the shoulders. And then draw your knees towards each other. Bring the knees in and then pull the feet close to the seat bones for supta kapotasana. Pull the right knee in towards your chest and then bring the right foot across the top of the left thigh. Hold on to that right foot with your left hand, and then just encourage initially that right knee to lengthen away from the body, just opening up that front of the hip. So if you can, try and bring the foot down into bring the heel into the inner pelvic bone. So it becomes like padangusthasana, half padangusthasana. We bring the foot as high up into the thigh as you can. Don't overdo that. If you've got a bad knee, just bring that foot wherever it will go. Keep the foot where it is, wherever it is, and then pull the left knee in towards you. Grip around the back of the left knee, and then go and pull that left knee in towards the chest. Keeping that left heel flexing. Just have a little wriggle about on your back a little, just to soften the spine on the floor. And then release. Swap the feet around. So bring the right foot back down onto the floor. Bring the left foot over the top of the right thigh. Bending that knee, of course. Hold on to the left foot with the right hand, and then lengthen the left knee away from the body. And then soften that knee action. Pull the right knee in towards the chest, hold on to the back of the right knee, and then draw that right knee in towards the chest, flexing that right heel. Maybe have a little rock from side to side as well, just very gently, just to really massage out the back. So this is a really good pose for stretching out stiff glutes and hamstrings. And then release that leg, and then pull the feet in towards the seat bones, and then again just come back into supta, padangusthasana. So the knees apart, put blocks underneath the thighs if you have got stiff hips, otherwise just knees apart, feet together, knees apart. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Get your belt again, and then bring the two knees together. Pull the feet in towards the seat bones as much as you can, and then bring the feet, bring the feet as wide apart as your seat bones. And then pull the right knee in towards the chest. Hook the belt around that right foot, around the ball joint of that right foot, and then elevate that right leg up to the ceiling. Supta padangusthasana 1, or at least the starting point of. So with the left leg bent, it's maybe easier to find a perpendicular action for that leg, lifting from the hip into the heel, and dandasanaise that leg like we did when we were sitting on the floor right at the beginning, turning the front of the thigh inwards, pushing the kneecap in towards the back of the knee, turning the front of the thigh inwards, pressing the front of the thigh into the back of the thigh, keeping that right leg really active. And then we're going to just push that left heel into the mat as you push that foot away, and then bring that left leg straight along the mat. You might have to release the belt a little to accommodate the lifted leg, but keep that lifted leg straight, tightened at the kneecap, Activate that left leg really firmly. Draw the belly button towards the spine. Push the foot into the belt into the foot. Turn that leg inwards so that the big toe side of the foot is as high as the little toe side of the foot. Just take deep inhalations and exhalations, listening to the breath. Take hold of both ends of the belt as close to the foot as you can with your right hand, and then rest your left hand on your hip. Try and keep that left hand where it is as you bring that right elbow out in line with your shoulder, trying to bring the right foot over to the side, but the big toe in line with your ear. Keep that left leg really firm. Activating the legs like you're doing Tadasana. Not Tadasana, well, Tadasana, but also trikonasana. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, but keep that leg extending. Don't bring it all the way to the floor. Straight leg, keeping that leg straight in if you can. Keep pushing from the back of the knee into the heel, and then come back to the center, and then unhook the belt, and then release the leg down onto the floor. It's not important to bring that leg, when you bring that leg out to the side, it's not important to bring the leg to the floor. In fact, you shouldn't really be bringing that leg to the floor. If you are, then you're probably cheating, or you've got a severe pelvic impairment. So when you bring that leg out to the side, it should be kind of floating in the air, not in connection with the ground. Pull the feet in towards the body, and then just have both legs bent. Bend up the left foot, hook the belt around that left foot, and then work to bring this leg straight. So what we don't want with these poses is bent knees like this. If you're bending your knee and you can't straighten it, give yourself a little bit more belt. Bring the foot away from the body a little until you can straighten it. Even if it's like this, even if it's kind of miles away from the right angle that we're looking for. So just observe what your body can do. Observe what happens when you straighten that leg, and give yourself the space. Turn that thigh inwards. Turn the front of the shin inwards. Make sure that the big toe side of the foot is as high up as the little toe side of the foot. And then slide the right foot along the mat until the leg comes down onto the floor. Straighten that leg, straighten the kneecap, straighten the leg completely. Tadasanaize those legs, do dandasana legs. Give yourself a little more rope if you can't straighten your leg. It's better to be like this than it is to be like this. So keep that leg straight. That's the priority. Take hold of both ends of the belt with your left hand. Rest your right hand on your hip. Keep that hip where it is. Then bend your left elbow out in line with your shoulder. Try and get the big toe to come out to the side in line with your ear, or as close to as you can. This leg shouldn't be on the ground. Activate that right leg like you're doing trikonasana. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, keeping that right leg really firm. Listen to the breath. And then bring that leg back to the center. Just unhook the foot and then just rest your legs down into the floor. Just rest down into the floor. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So we're going to do setubandha with the block in the sacrum area of the back. If you're avoiding inversions at the moment, then go back into supta, baddha, soles of the feet together, knees apart. Or you can come into viparita karani like this, which is less of an inversion but still an inversion. Otherwise, bring the feet close to the seat bones. Get your block and then lift the seat bones away from the floor. Just gather your shoulder blades together so you come right up onto the tops of your shoulders. Even if you come up, maybe even come up onto the tiptoes to lift the back, lift the tailbone. And then place the brick in the sacrum tailbone region of your back. Hold onto the edges of the mat like you want to tear it apart. Turn the crease of the elbows out to face the sides of the room so that you really come onto the tops of the shoulders. And then either stay with the legs bent like this, or just see if you can stretch one leg out, see how that feels for your back. Bring it back, stretch out the other leg, sliding that heel along the floor. Just see how that feels for your back. And then if it feels okay, then you can stretch both legs away. So for my back, that feels a little strong this morning, so I'm just going to keep the legs bent. But if you can stretch your legs out, keep them extending, tightening your kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the feet don't roll out to the sides. The big toes point directly to 12 o'clock. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Okay, when you're ready, just lift your seat bones that come up onto the tiptoes if you need to. Just adjust the shoulders, guide your back down onto the floor. Just stay with the feet apart and the knees together for a moment. Just resting your back into the floor. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine, just ironing out any tensions in the back. And then roll yourself up into the seated position. Just have a blanket for your head, folded up blanket for your head, and then lay yourself down in a really good straight line. I'm just going to cover my feet, they're a bit chilly. And cover myself up. Just come down into a good straight line right down the centre of your mat. And then allow yourself to release into the ground. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to take them off. Just observe feeling of the floor underneath you, observing the sensations of heaviness that come from letting the arms and the legs completely relax. Give in to that heaviness. Feel the body really relying on the ground. The more you let go of the hold of the body, the more you rely on the floor, the more you'll observe a feeling of energetic lightness that radiates from the bones and into the muscles, into the organs, into the flesh and the skin. Use your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness down into the toes, into the fingers, and into the top of the head. Especially into the top of the head, just bring in positive energy into the brain. Okay, wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Just bring yourself back into this pose of sirvasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll onto your right side. Straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs, just holding onto your knees. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the center. And then just around to the left. And then come back to the center. Bring your hands into Namaste. Draw your breath in through your nose, down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. That good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. With an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Shoulders away from your ears. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've lifted your energy, you've given yourself a good old stretch, and you've given yourself good energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.